Welcome back, everybody. In the last episode, you saw that we capped the bulkheads and fiberglassed on the sides of the stringers. And in today's video, what we're going to be doing is drilling holes in the top of the stringers and then filling it with pour foam and then fiberglassing over the top. So don't go anywhere. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So now I just need to see if I've got a drill bit to drill those holes with. Well, I can't seem to find the kind of drill bit I need anywhere around this darn place. So I guess I'm just gonna have to go to Home Depot real quick to pick one up. Well, these are the kind of bits I need right here. Boy, let me tell you, this Milwaukee kit, $87. That's a little too insane for me. I'm just gonna go with this $20 one that gives me a whole bunch of sizes. So that should be perfect for what I need for. Let's get back to the house. Alright, and just like that, we're back from Home Depot and I've got the hole saw drill bit I need now, so I'm gonna get it out and start drilling my holes. Alright, so I've got it on here. I'm starting out with the 1.5 inch drill bit size. I'm thinking this should be a big enough hole. I probably am going to end up using the funnel. So I mean, this would easily fit in there. Actually, now that I think about it, I think the funnel might be too small on the end for the foam to pour through. I mean, I'll find out. Maybe, you know what might be better? Is if I do the top of like a water bottle. Might have a bigger opening to get a better flow rate. But this should still be a good size for that, not too big to where it's too big of a chunk out of the stringer cap. But so let's try this out and see how it is. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and drill one hole in each of these little sections here. So one here, one there, and then one up towards the front. I'm going to go ahead and drill them now. So then that way, as I start pouring foam, I'm going to try to pour all the foam while the previous pours are gelling up. So that way, hopefully it'll all harden together as one piece of foam in the end. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And if I do need to drill more holes, I can do that later on. But I'm going to start with, I guess, 4 holes for now and see if that's enough. Alright, I got those holes drilled all the way up that stringer. So now I'm going to go ahead and start mixing up the foam to pour in. Now the foam I got mixes up a 1 gallon kit, will make 4 cubic feet of foam. So I did some calculations with my stringer, which I can explain later, but I'm going to have more than enough, and I'm going to do about 1 cup at a time. I think this one stringer should take about 4 cups of the pour foam. So that's what I'm going to try to do now. Alright, we got all the foam poured into this stringer. Turned out really well. Pretty pleased with it. I think the 4 holes worked out just right. As you can see in each one, the foam went all the way up to the top, and I guess I used just the right amount because it didn't come spewing out the top of the hole. It got just right up to it. So that's pretty good. It was pretty amazing how much that stuff expanded though, and how quickly it starts reacting. You can see here I almost scraped this cup completely empty when I was still mixing it, and that's how much it still expanded with just the tiny bit of residue that was left inside of it. So, turned out pretty good. Went really fast, I think. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do this stringer the same way, and it shouldn't take too long at all. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, well, all the foam is done in the stringers. So now what we got to do is fill in the holes. I'm going to try to use the little pucks that were cut out of them to put back in there, and then sand down the tops of any of the resin that is in little shards or anything, just to make sure there's nothing sticking up on the top of the stringers. And then we're going to fiberglass over the tops of the stringers, and the stringers will be done. And now we've got it cleaned up in here. So everything is ready to go. Now I'm just going to go cut out the fiberglass pieces to go over the tops of the stringers. Then I'm going to glue them down with the resin. Oh, and one other thing. There is still this middle bulkhead right here. I didn't already fiberglass, so I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. And there was still 2 pieces back here I needed to do over this and another piece right here. So 3. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out all the fiberglass for that and get the gluing. Alright, well, the time has come. We've got all that fiberglassing done, filled in the holes on the top. Now we just got a fiberglass over the tops of the stringers. And then it is time for the deck after that. So let's go ahead and get to it. So now that we've got the stringers fiberglassed in, it's about time to put the gas tank back into the boat. Now one of the things we're going to do with it first is replace the fuel sensor. So you can see over here I've got the old fuel sensor, and it is just about rusted as could be, so that ain't gonna fly. So we got a new one here. It's kind of funny, you can see that it came in this long box that it can go for a gas tank that's about 2 feet deep, whereas this one's only like 6 inches deep. It's just really long. So we're gonna need to cut that down to get it to the shorter length that it was before, and then we'll be able to install this in there. Alright, we've got our new fuel sensor all set up. I've got it set to the right depth here. So now let's just go ahead and put it in there. And there are a few screws, of course. Now we've got it screwed in there, so I guess this bad boy's ready to go. But before we put the gas tank into position here, I am going to go ahead and put down some rubber mat strips to help cushion it where it's going to sit. So to do that, I literally just bought like a rubber floor mat, and I'm just going to cut it up into strips and put them down there. Okay, I got all the rubber pieces cut out into the strips, and I've got them laid out into position here, sort of in the pattern how they're going to go in the boat. Now I do know this probably looks like it doesn't make much sense and you don't get a good idea. Just wait till I put them in the boat, then you'll see what I mean. Now I know this might look randomly placed, but I can assure you this is highly calculated in the pattern formation which they are currently placed in. All of them are slanted such that the water will be able to flow back to this side, to the back of the boat without obstruction. And secondly, they are in a zigzag formation to help give the best distribution of the load to the floor. So there you go. And the ones up top there are going to go on the sides. And that just made me realize whenever I'm gluing them in, I got to figure out something that's going to hold them up to the side while I'm gluing. So I got to get that figured out. Maybe I'll use a piece of tape or something. Yes, I do think the tape method will work out quite nicely. You can see it holds it perfectly. I just have to do 3 pieces of tape per each of these pieces. And then we will be able to glue them in. Alright, so the rubber pads underneath the gas tank went down alright with the resin. I maybe should have used PL glue instead, but they aren't going anywhere. It'll be fine. So you can see I do have the gas tank down there into position now, and it does fit just right, which is good. So now the next thing I need to do is basically we're about to lock the gas tank into place because we're going to put a support 2x4 across the top here in the middle. Now what I am going to do with that is waterproof the 2x4 itself before I put it in here, and then when I put it in here, one thing I was debating is because it's going to connect at the side of the stringer here, I thought maybe I'll just glue it in, but I think I am going to use some screws to put it in there. But then all of that's going to get fiberglassed over, so it'll be okay. So there shouldn't be any issues there. So I'm going to start taking my measurements to get my 2x4 piece cut out, and then see how it fits into place, and after we got a good fit, we will get it waterproofed. Okay, we've got it into place about how we want it, and as you can see it is sticking up a little bit over here, and that's just because it is a tight squeeze. Now I probably could hammer that down to get it all the way in, but there's already quite a bit of pressure on it for me sort of pushing it down as far as I could by hand. So I think what I might do is sand the ends of the little wood pieces to help make it just a sliver smaller, so it'll slide in there a little bit nicer, but still a snug fit. So I'm going to sand that down a little bit now, then see how it looks after. Good luck getting that screw out. And now it is in there pretty good. I did have to use a little bit of force, giving it a few taps with the hammer, but now we've got it in there perfect. And I know some of y'all probably wonder, how do I get it, perfectly level straight across? And I do have the level, and I was using that a little bit to tell. But here's honestly the final check, is just seeing how the deck will lay on it when it's resting on the other pieces around it as well. So you can just take a piece of your plywood and just sort of rest it on there. And you can see it's resting almost perfectly evenly across everything here. I mean, that is really what you want. You can't really get better than that. So I think it's perfect where it's at, so I'm going to go ahead and screw it in. So I am using some screws I bought here, and you really want exterior screws, and you want them to be wood screws, not metal screws. And the difference between wood and metal is that the threads are thicker. With the metal ones, they'll be sort of thinner threads, and they'll pull out of the wood easier. So we don't want that to happen. We need the exterior ones so that they're coated really nice and the screws will never rust. And these even have the torque head bits, so hopefully I don't have to worry about them stripping on like it did on the other Phillips head one. So I'm going to use these bad boys here and get it in. Well, there's no turning back now. The board is screwed into the stringers. Hopefully those are the only screws that'll be going into the stringers. And now we cannot get the gas tank out. It is locked down because of that. So next what I think I'm going to do is a little thing of fiberglass over the sides of this part of the plywood and a little strip over the top there, just to make sure that part itself is waterproofed good. Well, that was pretty messy to say the least, but we did get it on there. You can see after it dries, I'm going to have a little bit to clean up, sand off the top, make sure it's still level with no spots sticking up. But I think we are done with that one. Next thing I'm going to do is make the support that goes across here. I'm not going to lie, this one's an even tighter squeeze than the last one was. But it is in there as far as it needs to get, and it looks pretty good. It is nice and level. So I'm going to go ahead and screw it in now. Okay, so we've got all the fiberglassing done. You saw last we did that piece there, finished it all up, as well as the piece over the gas tank. And then I went ahead and I took the angle grinder and I removed the old lip of where the floor used to be. So now when we're putting the new floor in, we'll have a nice, clean, flat surface to put it up against. So I grinded all the lip off of the wall. Back there you can see how dusty it is still, all the way to up to here, and then touched up this area a little bit to try and make it more of a straight line. So now what we're gonna do, now it's time to take the shop vac and vacuum some of that fiberglass dust up, get it a little bit cleaned up in here, and then I'm gonna start taking more measurements and cutting out pieces of the floor. And that is where we are going to end today's episode. I just want to say thank you for watching. And coming up in the next episode, what we're going to be doing is finally putting the deck down in the boat. So stay tuned for that. But that is going to do it for today. I will see you guys next time.